Young Reporters Disclaimer. Before we get started, a quick note. The views and opinions you'll hear on the Young Reporters are just those of the producers, our guests, and our friends, and don't represent the policies or official views of the Orin Edson Entrepreneurship Plus Innovation Institute. And remember, the Young Reporters podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Matchmaker Communications 101, in collaboration with Arizona State University's Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, presents The Young Reporters. The Young Reporters chase down ordinary people doing amazing things in the greater Phoenix community and beyond. These inner-city young journalists take their classroom on the air, a class about ethics, commitment, loyalty, and teamwork. When you're on The Young Reporters, be prepared to talk about things you never expected. And now, let's go into the classroom.
We are back in the classroom, and we are in our headquarters here at Arizona State University's Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute here at A.S.U. Skysong. And so it's such a thrill. This is the first show in the start of our second season here at Skysong. Al, I'm not hearing volume that much. Am I get up my volume?
What?
Exactly what? So by volume up on my earphones just a little bit. There we go. Now I hear. That's right. Thank you.
Well,
very
usually
much.
you're.
I'm complaining about too loud.
You're in my grill because it's too loud, so I backed it off today.
But thank you. This is such an important show. I want to be able to hear the whole thing, So we've. This is the show, by the way. The show is we love our mistakes. They're not mistakes; they're just fun. So, and we're not shy. You talk about authentic. We're trying to just represent authentic like crazy. So today
we're authentic until I get to the editing room, and then I get all that on the floor. So
yeah. When and when people sitting at the end of the table get a little, distorted in the visual, or when the book I showed, but
well, I was just explaining to him on how I cut me and the other people off here, because I have to zoom in, I have to zoom in and out, and if there's no chatter on this end, then I focus the camera on where there is chatter. It's just unfortunate, and sometimes where there is just all the chatter down there, and then it's shocking when I say something and everybody looks my way. It's
that's the shock effect. We want you for the shock.
But nobody puts the mirror in the corner. That's okay. I think Kelly said that.
This is Alan's intro to the show today. But we are starting our second year at ASU Skysong, and we've got a great group with us today. I wanted to say something. We talk about that Arizona State University is number one in innovation for a university in America. Number one. And they've been number one for like 17 years, 15, 16, 17 years running. And so I was wandering around with the main headquarters of the Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute are upstairs here at Skysong. And I was just wandering around before the show today, and I noticed something upstairs, and I just decided to take a quick picture of it. And unfortunately, because of issues with our low budget camera work, how's that? Okay, because we're trying to maintain budgets, right, Alan? I mean, we have budgets to maintain, right?
Yeah, a budget that never gets fulfilled.
Exactly. So we're a one camera operation right now. One day we'll be this fancy.
We started out with 3.
Yes, and that was a lot of editing work.
And then we quickly had to move to the economy version.
So anyway, there's this thing upstairs, and I noticed it. And it's a picture of Gordon McConnell, Arizona State University, May of 2013. And I'll just read a couple things. The headline, this is out of the Phoenix Business Journal. The headline says, Nerd Scholar names ASU a top entrepreneurial university. That's in May of 2013. I think they named them as number 9 in the country at that point. So this is a history for the school of but again, they were probably number 1. It's just that the Business Journal didn't maybe fully realize they were number 1 because it's been 15, 16 years straight. So the article was just interesting because it just highlighted some of the aspects of how entrepreneurial this is, what an advantage for students it is. They come out of school here and they've got a head start on entrepreneurial stuff. And so on our panel, we've got a bunch of entrepreneurial types. And so let me do a real quick introduction, breeze by on it. I'm Bob Fishman. We've been talking with Alan Repo, who himself is a legend in his own mind, not to mention his own time. So Alan is a...
Thank you.
You're very well. He's a world-class musician. His music has been played on 27 airlines. It's been played on Air Force One.
Over 100 countries in the world.
Over 100 countries. And you're currently helping produce music for Paula Hartley's Gala Ballet show.
September 5th. That's the show at the Orpheum Theater, starting at 7 o'clock.
And your music's going to be a significant portion of the dance performing music. Is that correct?
About 10 minutes they're going to do. Three pieces.
That's significant.
That's awesome.
For an international gala. That's pretty good, Alan. So
for an international guy.
And Alan has won some awards. He's won Addies. He's won Emmys. We've given him the Nobel Peace Prize at times for various things. We do that here.
For music.
Yeah, for music.
That was Kim gave me that Nobel Peace Prize for music.
You know, if FIFA can give Nobel Peace Prizes, we can do it too. You know, why not? You know, so why not? So anyway, so we've got, on my left, we've got Jennifer Conrad, and you're going to hear a lot about Jennifer today. She is amazing. I don't even want to guess age, but she's a young woman who's achieved a lot, and she's got history in her background and her mind all the time. She's a storyteller, and we'll get into more detail about that. Boy, Sharon, you are going to love hearing some of Jennifer's story because she is AI related. She is history related. I think you'll hear more about that in a minute. We got Joan Tillman sitting next to Jennifer, and Joan has a years and years background of being involved in running a mid-sized media operation for a big size, meaning a national recognized pilot and expert on airline issues. It was always on network TV and local TV in Chicago doing things like weather and all, but whenever there's an airline incident, Jim Tillman was the go-to guy for that. And so Joan was basically help Jim run that business. So she's got a big background in knowing how to run things, which is one of the reasons I want her on our team, because she knows how to run things. And I don't. So on my right, we're calling her Margaret for the moment, but actually I was holding back from you guys. This is Sister Margaret McBride, and Sister Margaret has an amazing background. I was reading a little bit more up on you. I've known sisters for a lot of years, it's probably getting close to 20 years now, but Sister was, her most recent thing before she retired was vice president for mission integration. Is that what I'm getting that? Mission integration at St. Joseph's Hospital. So one of the most powerful organizations, medical related, in Arizona, in the city of Phoenix in particular. And Sister Margaret was always a go-to. And she's the go-to person, right-hand person for Linda Hunt, who was the president of the hospital. And I got privileged to sit in some boardroom meetings that they had. And Linda was such a wonderful person. She passed away recently, right, Sister?
She did.
And that's a big loss, right?
Yes.
So we're thrilled to have you back, and we haven't seen you in quite a while. So stay on your microphone.
Yes. All right.
And so I'll give you. We'll get a little more detail in a minute, and then sitting next to Sister Margaret is Sharon Jackson, and Sharon, again, just a real general introduction. Sharon is the founder of the Integrative Medicine Chamber of Commerce, and this is local, national, international. What is it, Sharon?
It's national.
That's fabulous. And so Sharon has a military background. She has a big background in Alaska. She's been liaison, and that's still kind of a current thing, right? Official, unofficial, but liaison for Senator Dan Sullivan from Alaska. So, and Sharon, you are constantly on the run. I know you've got some trips coming up, right?
Yes.
We're privileged to have you here again, and you're going to be doing a lot of stuff for the next couple months, right?
That's right.
What ballpark? What's coming up in the next couple months?
Well, the 14th I head to New York for the unveiling of our billboard in what is it?
Times Square?
Times
Oh
Square.
my gosh! Are you kidding me? You're going to have a billboard?
I co-authored a book called "Lead Like a Woman," And our billboard is going to be unveiled on the 15th.
Can you send us a picture of that?
I will.
I want that, and if there's a way to watch the event or whatever, I would love to know about that too. That's fabulous. So,
yes, and then I head to Florida to the International Hyperbaric Associations Conference.
And when you say that, you're talking about the hyperbaric chamber type thing?
Yes.
Which we saw, it was the event that I met you at, and Joan actually.
Yes.
And so this, for people who might not be aware, the hyperbaric chamber is kind of like the thing, it's sort of a in-office version of like the submarine that went down to find the Titanic, right? It's almost like that, right?
It reminds me of a submarine.
Yeah.
And when we go in for treatment, we call it dives because they take us down in pressure. So
that's part of, we'll get into more of Sharon's story in terms of that, but so you're becoming aware of the hyperbaric chamber is through health-related stuff, is that right?
yes.
And so that gives you a little bit of background on Sharon, and just a little more on Sister Margaret for a second. Sister Margaret, and we'll go more in depth on this a little bit later, but Sister Margaret was just given an award, I think it was this March, wasn't it?
Was that for Mercy Care?
Yes, for
Yes.
Mercy Care. Yes.
Yes.
So this past March, Sister Margaret was given this fabulous award. I'm going to try to see if I can find it real quick.
It was a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
And it's called RISE, and it was...
RISE stands for something, right? What does RISE
Yes,
stands
yeah,
for?
and I won't be able to tell you.
You can go. I'll look it up later. Then. We'll get that.
Yes,
we got
have to get that later.
We've got a little break coming up. So Sister Margaret she's a go-to in the community, and she's going to be a go-to forever. So we off to a good start with our great panel. So more to come up. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the short break.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Conrad, co-founder and CEO of America Ascent, and you are watching the older version of The Young Reporters with your hosts, Bob Fishman and Alan Ripa.
Part of the history of the Young Reporters, the reason we're called the Young Reporters, is that we, for many, many years, long before we did this podcast, we initially trained kids on communication skills, and it took us about 2 years. The goal was always to get them on the radio. And so starting in 2008, we were in the classroom with some kids, poorest of the poor, shyest of the shy. That's the way I like to talk about it. These are not kids that are going to be theater majors. They're not kids that are going to be natural stars. We don't refuse those kids. Excuse me. But I like working with people who aren't naturally outgoing. I like taking people who have maybe self-esteem issues, people who aren't going to be the ones that shine like lights in the room every time you walk in a room. These are kids who are going to be hiding from the microphone and hiding from the camera, and getting them to say their first word on the air, getting them to ask their first question is so much fun. And once they get that first question out, it's amazing. And we've had a recent example of that, Alan, with Owen Nagtalon, right? Remember with Owen and his mother, Nicole?
Yes.
When we were doing an invention convention, you talk about that for a second to bring us up to date on what your impression of that experience with Owen was.
Well, what I understood from his mom, that he was a pretty quiet kid around the house and all, but when he got in front of these, we had about 15 people on that podcast, and he was sitting in the middle of the table, and when it came to his turn to talk, he just took off, and he took over the room. It was unbelievable. And the mom's looking at me like, she didn't know
where'd this version of my kid come from.
Yeah, right. It was unbelievable.
And she even said that. She said that in the air, basically. And so she knows that Owen is a really wonderful, sharp kid, but he just kind of lit up with the opportunity to be with adults and ask questions. So it was a lot of fun.
And he was smart as a whip once he
great
started talking, but fabulous.
So Owen and Nicole are kind of like flow through regulars on the show whenever they're available. So we've had a lot of experience working with kids, and one of the things I always talk about, we want to work with the homeless population because they've got self-esteem that's beat up. We want to work with PTSD veterans or any veterans that need any kind of help. We want to put them on the air to do the same format where they get to meet people in the community that can help them with whatever they need, whether it's housing or jobs or whatever, or in some cases it might be dental work, whatever it is. So we can take, it could be sexually abused people of any type, and get them to host a show like this, get them to run the panel, and all of a sudden their lives turn around. And people in the community are wanting to meet them, and the people in the community want to help them. And Sister Margaret represents some of the, by the way, we talked at the last segment about Sister Margaret's winning what's called the RISE Award. And this is from Mercy Care. And I was curious to find out about Mercy Care. Mercy Care is this big, it's kind of like the Medicaid equivalent.
It's one of the Medicaid programs here in Arizona, and we take care of about 375,000
wow,
people.
375,000?
375,000.
In the healthcare field.
Yes, these are. This is for health-related issues, and also it has a behavioral health component to it. So, 375,000 people in the state is pretty impressive, and so
pretty impressive.
Very proud of.
And you're still on the board, aren't you?
Yes.
And so the RISE, by the way, the award the sister won was called RISE, and it stands for Resilience, Innovation, Service, and Empowerment.
Nice.
So you wanted to describe how that works in the organization?
So this is an award that's given either to someone internally in the organization or someone who has served in the community. And so since I had served on the board we've been part of Mercy Care for 41 years and have been serving on the board and hopefully setting information about quality and care for individuals who are part of Mercy Care. So they granted me the award for lifetime achievement, and so it was a huge honor.
And so, Sister, let's see, just on checking the 4 items, so resilience, Sister Margaret has been a leader in this community for many, many years, and I'm not going to necessarily get into it at this moment, but Sister has some history, and she showed some amazing resilience in terms of getting through a very difficult situation. And that's after many years of serving the community, after many years of leadership, and she had to face her own thing that she did it with dignity and honor and you name it, whatever positive quality you want to name. Amazing woman sitting to my right here. And then the innovation part. Sister, what's some of the more innovative things you've done or been part of in your, by the way, you started as a nurse, right, at St. Joseph's?
Yes. My background is nursing, and I think the innovative part of the work is working with individuals who have ideas that we want to help the community, really help care for the community, because as a healthcare organization, we sit in the middle of a community, and I think we look at the long-term effects of healthcare needs in our community, and that's part of the innovation and coming up with different ideas of how we care for people. One of the ideas was actually embedding a homeless navigator in our emergency room.
What does that mean, a homeless navigator?
So it's a person who works who's an employee of Circle the City, the respite care for homeless people. And when a homeless patient comes into the emergency room, oftentimes what they need are resources. They don't necessarily need to be admitted to the hospital, but they need resources to maybe turn, getting them in housing, getting them resources that they need.
How hard is that? Somebody comes in, and all of a sudden you realize they're coming in off the street, and then you're going to, once you do whatever you do medically, you're going to put them back out on the street again. How does that work?
So that's one of the issues that we don't necessarily want to do, because we know that if we can capture somebody through the emergency room at that point and offer them assistance, we oftentimes can take them out of homelessness, and we can actually help them get stable housing and actually put the services together for them. So that's one of the ideas of innovation.
And there's a lot more with Sister Margaret coming up, but service goes without question. That service is definitely part of your life. It has been for your whole career. And empowerment, what's the empowerment part? What do you feel is the part of that award, the Rise Award that you won, what's the empowerment thing that you feel that they recognize where you've done some things to empower people?
I think it's that whole idea of dignity and respect for people. And as you work with individuals, you want to empower them to take off and have opportunities that maybe they never have seen before. And I think that's the beauty of working with individuals in our community, giving them new opportunities. And that's what I love to do.
Well, let me get Jennifer more in this conversation right now. Jennifer's been sitting over here, and I've been intentionally ignoring her for a few minutes because Jennifer is like the historian at the table. And Jennifer, I don't know how many years you've been careering. How many years have you been doing like post-school career?
Oh, so post-school career. So I graduated in 2007.
From where?
From Newman University in Wichita, Kansas. So I
What university was that?
Newman University.
Newman University.
Catholic school.
In Wichita? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Colonel John Henry Newman.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. So
that's the Newman Club.
Yeah, the Newman Club's named after him. So I went to college out there, graduated with a bachelor's degree in history and theology.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did 2 degrees, and then I moved out here in 2000. I got recruited to come out here.
By who and for what?
By the Yuma Catholic High School. So I got recruited to come teach theology and history.
In Yuma?
Yuma, yes.
Oh, my
I got
goodness.
certification, and so I got alternative certification because I'm a trained historian. So that's what brought me out here. So I got, and it was only supposed to be 6 months because I'd never been to Arizona, and I never knew what Yuma was until I saw the movie The 3:10 to Yuma with Christian Bale.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was interesting. And then when I got to Yuma, it never rained. It was hot all the time. And I told my mom and dad, like, get me out of here. So it was only supposed to be 6 months. And it turned in 16 years later and did not know I was going to be teaching.
It was like 19 years ago when you got here.
19 years. 2009. Yeah, 2009.
I'm doing the math here, you know?
Yeah, so I did a stint in Ohio. So I was in Ohio for like 2 years, Cincinnati.
Okay.
And then because I was looking, I was going to go to law school, do all these things. And then the good Lord's like, no, we got to do something else for you. And then I ended up getting into teaching. And then I got, I was in, trying to figure out, it was like a year post-grad, like, what am I going to do with my life? And I was like, working some stockroom, like at retail and just trying to figure out, and then throwing out resumes across the United States. And then a good old Monsignor up in Yuma, the Yuma Catholic picked my resume, and they're like, hey, we want, her, she's got the background. And they ended up pulling me out here, and it was only supposed to be 6 months. And then they had to they were having some issues with especially with the financial, like in the back, so like education, and so they ended up like, hey, we're gonna have to let you go. And then so I was preparing my way to go back to Kansas, and all of a sudden I get a phone call because I just thrown out resumes. I'm gonna go teach everywhere, and then they were like, got a phone call from a district down in Tucson and said, hey, can you come down for an interview like right now? I was like, well, how far is Tucson from here? Because I didn't know, and I'm like from the Midwest, and I'm like, I drove down there, and then they're like, walk in, and they're like, 15 minutes, like, you're hired. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So I went from teaching, so I went from teaching Catholic school kids to working with the at-risk on the south side of Tucson.
That's a transition.
Yeah, so I taught for 4 years. So the kids that were in, so when I first got in the classroom, I had kids coming in with the chains, and then from the Pima County, like at-risk youth.
How is that? We're going to have to bring this to the next segment, but how is that initial transition to seeing the rougher kids come in and
well, you've seen kids with halos, and then you see the kids that were like not so, a little bit crooked.
We're going to pick up on the halos to not quite crooked. In our next segment, we are the Young Reporters. We got a great group today, and this is going to be we're just barely touching the edge of this right now. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Sharon Jackson. Welcome back to the older version of the Young Reporters with Bob Fishman and Alan Ripa.
We're back with the older version, the Young Reporters. Great group in the studio with me: Sister Margaret McBride, Sharon Jackson, Jennifer Conrad, Joan Suje Tillman, Alan Ripa. I'm Bob Fishman. We were just, in the last segment, we were transitioning from Jennifer having taught in a Catholic school background with the halos and moving to a different environment with the chains and whatever. Pick it up from there, Jennifer, now, but I want to get to your larger picture. So
okay.
Pick it up where you're talking about going to the public school.
Yeah, so I taught for 4 years in the south side of Tucson. So I worked with a lot of the at-risk kids. So we had kids, and it was an alternative school, a lot of kids that did not know how to learn, did not do well in a traditional classroom. They would come to us, and either they would graduate early or they would come in just like needing help, and they were behind. And so we had kids from
what age group?
It was a high school.
Okay.
So I taught 9th through 12th. So I taught.
Were you teaching? Okay, I'm sorry. What courses were you teaching? Yeah.
So I taught economics. So when I was at UMA Catholic, I taught theology, world history, all that cool jazz, and then I ended up since I moved to a public school, you couldn't do the theology, so I ended up teaching economics, American history, American government.
Oh, that's where the history comes in.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for this part. Okay,
yeah, so my bachelor's degree is in history and theology, so I have 2 degrees.
Okay.
So I got out in college in time.
So then with working with the at-risk kids, did you enjoy that?
I did.
Yeah.
So
I did too. And I love that part of it.
And so my career there is like had over 3,000 students over my 4-year career, and so when I came in, it was a whole different culture. And so when I was teaching, I had success at one school, then they moved me to another, and then they were fast tracking me to be an assistant principal. They did a reading specialist, so I worked with. The student that I have the most I remember was my first year teaching, and her was a powerful story. She was like a reminder of me, and so she only had 9 credits left, but she got in with the wrong crowd. She ended up,
That reminds you of you?
Yeah, I didn't get around with the wrong crowd, but she had potential, and so we just connected, and she was dating this guy, and then I get a phone call from the school, and that she had OD'd, and so they said she's at the hospital. She was alive, but they need you to come talk to her. So I ended up talking to her, and just told her like, hey, you need to get your HIT together, and you can graduate. And so she was, when she graduated.
So you motivated her.
You motivated her. Powerful story. I'm just gonna drop her name. Is Chelsea. We're still in contact, and so she graduated. So she ended up she didn't have money for her cap and gown, and I at the time 2009 I was making $32,500 a year, and so had just for me I was like, hey, this is money, but at the time I didn't know that teachers we were paying for our supplies, and so she's like, I don't have money for cap and gown, so I was like, oh, here you go, here's $100. So I would be feeding these kids out of my own pocket and stuff like that. And then what happened was that she graduated, and her mom had come out to me after graduation. She's like, you have no idea. And her sister's like, she loves you to death. She she may be a pain in the rear, but she you changed her life. And so
that's great.
She wrote me a letter, and then she got in contact with me. She's like, can you write me a letter? I said, well, yeah, what's going on? She's like, well, because of you, she had gotten a job. She had to delay her career, but she ended up I'm going to the U of A. I'm going to get my degree in speech pathology.
Wow, and my wife's a speech pathologist.
Yeah,
great.
And so, and I kept in contact with her, and then she had called me again. This is maybe 3 years ago, and she's like, "Hey, I'm actually going to get my master's.
Wow,
for speech pathology.
What a thing you did.
Yeah. So she's 27. I think. Well, she's a little bit older now. She's 20. She's 27. I'm 41. So this was she graduated in 2010. So this. Oh yeah. So this was 16. This was 16 years ago.
This person went from ODing to becoming this fabulous life that you motivated her.
Yeah, and they're like, you were one of the biggest, inspirations to her life. And so then I was working with all of these kids, and then they fast tracked me, and they're like, hey, we want you to be principal. But I had to kind of step back because I was getting burned out. And plus, there were two, it's been 16 years, but there were two attempts on my life at the school district. So I never told my family where I worked.
So this is a rough place.
Yeah, there was
Bars?
Oh, yeah, literally. Okay. I never told them where I worked at all because they didn't want to identify me by a toe tag. And I was like, I just choked around. I'm like, Mom, they don't identify people by toe tags. Why were people after you? Well, because there's a rough, they have gangs and all of that, drugs running through the school. And so, like, one morning I came in, and they were like, hey, Miss Conrad, we need to talk with you. I'm like, oh, God, what the heck did I do this time? Because I was a maverick. I like to buck the system and be able to, like they say, you need to do this. Like, no, I'm going to do my way because I know it's better, and then kids get progress. And so they ended up, I was like, what did I do this time? I was like, didn't. But every time I bucked, the administration loved me. And I was like, they're like, well, we just want to let you know that we have to have security walk you out because over the weekend we had raided a student's locker and they had found a hit list with your name and two other teachers' names. And so, and then the other year I was on another hit list, and then I ended up breaking up a fight and I got punched in the face. And so they're like, do you want to press charges? Like, no, I mean, like, these kids have gone through enough. And so at this point it was like 4 years, and then it was like 2014, 2015, and they were like, my mom and dad came out and visited, and then when they saw the school, they were
not impressed, huh?
They were not impressed. They were like, because I didn't tell them like there was the this, and then when they saw that my life was being threatened, I had to be honest with them, and they're like, no, like, you need to get out. Like, we know that you're a good teacher.
So this sort of event is, and your parents' involvement sort of led to moving forward in some other direction.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, in another direction. And so they saw the school, and like my mom was like, just like no, because I told her. She's like, what, something happens to you? And they call me. I'm like, what? And she's like, I have to identify you by a toe tag. I was like, Mom, they don't use toe tags anymore.
Oh, that's what you're talking about, toe tags. I didn't think about that.
But that's not a good thing to tell a mother.
So you weren't wearing a toe tag? Or
so I said, if you have to go identify my body. And like, goodness. I shouldn't have said that to her, because then it made her like really much more upset. And so what happened?
By the way, it's across the table. Last show, Sharon was talking about defiance. We have word defiance. So the idea of always being next to trouble, and you anticipate. You like trouble, right?
Yeah, it's like this. My mom's like, the stray cats follow you a little bit because you see the good in people. And so what happened? So like I ended up getting out of teaching. They're like, hey, Jennifer, we need you.
Too many death threats.
Yeah, death threats. And then they were going to fast track me to be assistant principal, and I was like, I have to get out.
Let me bring you forward, because we're going to have a lot of this in the second show. I don't want to get away from this. This is great stuff. But moving forward, you somehow or other found the history in you. And were you always a writer?
Yes.
So you love writing, right?
Yeah, I love writing.
And so how did you move it forward where you became like a publisher type person, or a little close on the mic?
Yeah, so that's a long story. So one of the biggest things that I saw with the kids is that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you have an audience. We're always producing content. We have to meet people where they're at to get them to understand the curriculum. And one of the things with the kids is the kids I worked with, the population, a lot of them could not connect with the traditional class book. So I had to I either taught kids economics, supply and demand. I don't know if you're going to play this out, Alan. So I had some kids that were drug dealers. They didn't understand supply and demand. So I was like, well, so let's talk about this.
You're relating to their level.
Relating to their level. And I got pulled in the office. You can't talk about that. I'm like, but they understand. They're like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, yeah, you are. I mean, so...
Jennifer, I can put in graphics if you want.
Yeah. So I told them, was like, so I was able to connect with them and be able to show them like that, like here's like.
And so this led to you doing more writing, or
yes.
What
and so once I left in 2014, I actually got a job offer with the Diocese of Phoenix. I was a youth minister. I was a youth minister. And I'll keep it really short. So I was a youth minister, and then I end up the church. They're like, like
you and sister have a lot of stories to catch up on. You have a lot of stories.
High theological, like they were very high theological, but they were having a hard time connecting the kids. And so this church I went to, I was like, hey, like you're losing kids in your youth group, and they did not know why. And so I was like, I ended up calling every single person in the parish, asking them why, and I started doing like, hey, youth groups. And
so you were doing like investigative reporting.
Yeah, and like finding like what's the reason. I looked at the numbers. They had 250 people in the first 6 years of their program, and they dropped down to 10, and so that was an issue. And so it was the way that things were being like what Pope John Paul II says, like there's got to be a new way of evangelization. We got to meet people where they're at and communicate in a way that they understand.
You're a very good communicator on this stuff. You're really doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you are.
I got some heavenly guidance. I got my guardian angel in the back. I'm just kidding.
That's good.
But yeah, so I went and did all that, and it was kind of interesting. I had another kid he was going to Scottsdale Bible, and he was coming to this. He wanted to get baptized, and his dad was a lapsed Catholic, and they were trying to get him. He owned a big branding agency here in Phoenix, and they've been trying to get him to volunteer, and he didn't want to come back in. But he says, "My son loves you. I don't know why, but he's like, I'm going to volunteer, and I want to donate." And so he ended up donating, and so he helped me like do the branding and doing this, and he told me, he's like, "Jennifer," he said something that stood out to me. This is like 2014, 2015. He's like, "You are a branding person. You're a brand strategist. What you're doing is branding. It's storytelling. It's getting to people." And he's like, "You tell a story." And then I left the youth group. I went back into teaching for a little bit. Sixth graders are like, "Dude, I'm out the door," because I miss my high school kids. And then that's when I got a little bit into marketing.
And this is where we're going to pick up the final segment for this first show. We're having a great time, and we're just skimming the surface with some of our guests, but we're going to tie all these knots together real soon. Stay with us, the Young Reporters, right back after this short break.
Welcome. This is Trey Trusco. You're now watching the older version of the Young Reporters podcast, hosted by Bob Fishman and Alan Ripa.
We're back with the Young Reporters, and we've just had one of our semi-regular special guests, stars of this world. Trey Trusco has just joined us for a little bit of time with this final segment in show number 1, and hopefully we can make it worth his while to stay for a little bit of show number 2. We'll see what happens. But he's a serious business guy, so we have to allow for him to make some money. So
I mean, look at him.
I know he's like
complete.
I mean, really, he's like
serious.
Dressed,
Yes.
He's dressed for
the building, so I got to make sure I'm making good use of my time on the clock.
Well, this is that's right. Trey is part of ASU Sky Song, right?
Yeah.
What's your title?
It's probably better I turn up your mic.
I'm a software development consultant at Sky Song Innovations.
Software development. Oh my God, this is going to be great. Okay, her eyes are going to go light up. So we were just finishing up with Jennifer. So Jennifer, in this last time, we got Jennifer Conrad, we've got Joan Tillman, Sister Margaret McBride over here, Sharon Jackson. And Sharon, we're going to get a lot of stuff going with you here, okay? So Jennifer, so you've been just describing your journey through your education thing, and you had a background with education and with history and with economics. We love the part of the story where you're teaching economics to the most at-risk gang member kids that related to their economic opportunities. It's a great story. And so now we're back to the point where I'm trying to get you, in terms of all this has led to a point where finally one of the parishioners in the Catholic diocese that you were a youth minister for, one of those parishioners met you, found you, helped you maybe get some finance, whatever, get some organization going. And then he said, you're not just this, Jennifer, you are a brander. Yeah. And that's when he called out your purpose, right?
I called out my purpose. And so basically this was like 2014 to 2015. And that's when I got in my career into marketing. And so I've been 9 years in branding, storytelling strategy. So I've worked in real estate. I've worked at car washes.
So it was through the branding, the marketing aspect.
Real estate.
When did
marketing.
that lead to publishing for you?
So in 2023, actually, it'll be like July 20th was when I walked away from a career in fintech. So I was at a fintech company.
So you're a fintech person.
Yeah.
Too.
So
we've had a couple of fintech. That's financial technology.
Yeah,
right?
financial technology. So I was working in a financial technology firm in Gilbert. So I was a brand strategist, and long story short, they sent me to Miami for a conference, and I was just not happy with what I was doing. And so I had to make a decision, like I can spend the next 1 year doing this, or I can go and chase my dreams.
And your dream was what?
was to start a marketing agency, company, and that's where the magazine.
But you're part of your dream was something to do with history, storytelling, and all that, right?
Yeah. So what happened was I left. So I gave them my 4-week notice so you can find somebody. I was multiple times I tried to quit, and they were like, no. The CEO came in and they ripped up my letter in front of me, and they're like, no, we want you here. But I was like, I am not happy, and so I left. And I had one of my best friends really quickly had sent me a video when I was in Miami talking about that 76% that there was a study done in at Cornell that there's 76% of people that were on their deathbeds, and they asked the question, what is your biggest regret? And the biggest regret was I didn't live for me, and I did everything that people wanted me to do, and I was like, I am not happy. I don't want to die here. And
you see Sharon over here. She's nodding her head like she understands it, and we're gonna keep finishing up your.
So what I left. So I told them I'm done. You can't rip up my letter. I'm leaving. So July 20th to 2023, I left. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I left a 6-figure job. And everyone's like, you're insane. I'm like,
you went from 32,000 to 6-figure plus. Okay.
Yeah, 6-figure plus.
Okay.
And I'm good at what I do. I'm just gonna be honest.
You are good at what you do. Yes.
So I left, and they're like, how are you gonna do financially? It's like, I'll figure it out. So I drove Lyft.
Truly entrepreneurial.
Yeah, drove Lyft, and what happened was that somebody had reached out to me, and I was calling people like, hey, I need clients, all this, and then I had one of my first clients. She said, hey, I need help. And then when I was driving Lyft again, I ended up meeting my mentor. It was a God-spoken moment universe that I was driving Lyft and I stopped. And then all of a sudden somebody popped up. And I was like, who is this? And they're like, I'm 15 minutes away from the Biltmore. And I was like, I'll just go and do it. I was like, how did she pop up? And so I was about ready to cancel it. Something told me not to do it. Went to pick her up. And it was one of Jennifer Cannon, who has something to do with my new project right now. She was a woman entrepreneur, had sold a company directly to Cisco Systems from Silicon Valley, was in my car, was in Arizona at the right time. She had just flown in from London from a conference. She's the head of global go-to-market for ServiceNow, the world's largest software company, was in my car, said, I want to do a podcast. I'm like, well, I produce podcasts. And so she ended up said, here's my card. Give me a nice little tip. And because I had prior in the journey, I had people from Shark Tank come on my podcast, and I got all these people. I created podcasts for people. And then what happened was we ended up talking, collaborate, one of 3 years now. And then we had started a magazine in January 24.
So this is kind of like with her help?
Yeah. So she was one of my first clients.
Okay.
One of my first clients, and then January 24, we started Arizona Ascent.
Arizona Ascent. ASCENT.
Yeah. So and we ended up wrapping this magazine up back in May
which has now become American Ascent.
Yeah,
right?
America Ascent. We're in the middle of we're changing.
Okay.
So we launched a brand new corporation, America Ascent, and we ended up creating a platform. Basically, was storytelling.
And I just got a preview of this just a few days ago. I went to Jennifer's her office, or whatever that was, up in the vision office, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I got a chance to see, and it's a magnificent. Yeah. I'm not a tech expert, but
this is groundbreaking technology. So what had taken 2 to 3 month to do editorial magazines. It's thousands, $3,000, $4,000 a month. You have to do layouts, edit. You have all your content lives in so many different.
Ellen's watching intently, but
it lives in so many different other applications. They don't talk to each other. Editing. We have taken the magazine process, enabled it to generate a 44-page magazine in under a minute.
They took the other day. They showed me their little presentation in a brief time. They took their magazine and they said, this is how it works, Bob. And they changed the cover, and they took whatever on the cover, the headline they had, and they put Bob's whatever, or Bob something or other. They just put my name in there, and I watched this thing. You know how you watch on your phone, and it's speeding through the update. It's 5% to 8%. This thing sped through in about 45 seconds. All of a sudden, they had a new magazine with Bob on the cover or something like that. It was interesting to watch.
This is game-changing technology. Nobody's...
Let me take this right now to Sharon, because Sharon's been sitting here patiently, and Sharon is very much into what you're talking about.
And I'm not a tech bro at all.
So Sharon, how does this relate to your Integrative Medical Chamber of Commerce in terms of and you just heard a little portion of Jennifer's expertise, but I know that you two have a lot of stuff to do together, okay?
Yes.
It's my intuition. So go ahead and react to whatever you've heard from Jennifer here.
Well, a lot of things she said. Talking about publishing is interesting because I wrote a book that was downloaded, okay? And I just found a publisher and just found an editor like a couple of days before I would have been like, yes. But with Integrative Medicine Chamber of Commerce, our integrative medicine is $100 billion a year industry with no infrastructure.
Wow.
Okay, so this is more natural modalities that assist our bodies into healing. And so this platform is bringing them all together. And really, when I look at it, it will be marketing for the industry. It will be a directory. We will be educating the general public in different modalities that they don't even know exist, right? In the long term.
Why did you go for this? Why did you decide to become the person that creates the Chamber of Commerce for this? What was? And I realize it's a long story, and we don't have a lot of time. But just a quick synopsis. We'll get to more of it in show number 2. But why did you? Why is that something you felt driven to do?
So in 2016, I had a massive stroke. So I was completely paralyzed. I could not speak. And my life defies science to this day. Both of my carotid arteries are skin to skin. And I was told there's nothing we can do. We won't touch you. If we did, one of two things would happen. One, you would die. Or worse, you would live and not have the quality of life that you have today, which wasn't what you see.
So no medical was going to cure you.
No medical was.
So you had to
find.
you had to do something different, right? And
Yes.
that got you into the idea of something different from straight medical.
That's right.
And so, sister, I'm curious. We got a very short time left. How do you, you've been involved in direct medical for a whole career? How does integrative? You've dealt with some integratives. I mean, Joey Bukers is very into the holistic. So you've dealt with both, right?
I think it's so important to have the holistic approach. We're not just we're not just a being. We're being with other. We sit in a universe that impacts us, and we have to get beyond just the medical problem. We have to look at the holistic and the whole person.
Keep going. We got another 30 seconds.
Spirituality. Okay. We have to look at the impact of companions with us. We have to look at, can medication help, or can other options, going outside and just being in the sunlight,
like so Jennifer was saying earlier, we meet the economics of it.
Exactly.
Has to work too, right?
Exactly.
So you got to, like Jennifer made the economics part work with her drug dealer students, and she really able to relate and teach them and motivate them. An amazing story. And so Sharon, working in the innovative medical field, Chamber of Commerce, the economics has to work.
Yes.
So today's holistic and everything,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
We have had a wonderful time, a wonderful experience with this first show with this group of guests and teammates and part of our family here. And we're going to get back for another segment with another show with these groups. So thank you for staying with us. We are the Young Reporters with Sister Margaret McBride, Sharon Jackson, Trey Trusco, who will get in show number 2 if he sticks around with us, Jennifer Conrad, Joan Tillman, and Alan Ripa. I'm Bob Fishman. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for show 2 coming up.
This is Sister Margaret McBride, a Sister of Mercy, and I'm here with the older version of the Young Reporters. I'm here with Bob Fishman and Alan Ripa.